Hello, and happy Wednesday to you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Always a treat, especially here in the middle of the week. It's been a busy month. I'm sure many of you can agree. But of course, today's always special because today's Wednesday. Today's when we bring you in the loop. And I know Greg has a whole bunch of information. In fact, I can't wait to hear what Greg has to share with us today. I think it's going to be pretty exciting tech. I think it's going to be great. So those of you who are joining us live, thank you so much for being here. We encourage you to share some positivity. Let us know where you're joining us live from, of course, how your week is going, and if there's anything that you're celebrating, we'd love to hear that as well. A big welcome to In the Loop with Winnie and Greg. I'm Winnie Sun, longtime financial pro, CNBC council member, Forbes contributor, and host of Level Up, which can also be found on NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, Roku, and a few other places. But with that, happy Wednesday to my go-to on all things tech and just all around awesome co-host, Greg Nibbler. How are you, Greg?
I am doing good, Winnie. It is so good to be here. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining today. As Winnie said, we've got a lot to go on today. It has been a very busy tech day. We're finally getting into new products, new products out, including new phones. Start a phone season, basically, just happened today. So lots of cool stuff to talk about. If you don't know me, I'm Greg Nibbler, longtime tech reporter, journalist, covering all things in that world. But mostly, I like to talk about the fun things or the cool things or things that start up some questions or comments. And that's what we like to see here on this too, because we are live while we're watching this. If you're watching the recorded version, that's great too. You can still leave a comment, but we're live, so please, drop in your comments on there. Just saw somebody say hello. I missed it, but I believe it was Brian. So hi, Brian, and hi to everybody else who's joining in. So drop those comments, questions in as we go, and I'll try to run through some of the biggest stories of the day when it comes to those tech products here in just a little bit. But as always, we start off with Winnie updating what is going on in the world of finances, which is mind-boggling. She's able to keep up with all that. That's why I love listening to Winnie, because she makes it make sense.
Make sense. Thank you so much, Greg. Yeah. And I try to bring the financial news and make it fun. I mean, that's the key, right? People always tell me, like, I don't know, I'm not sure that financial news can be fun. Trust me, it's really, really exciting. But before we jump in, let's say a quick hello. I see Joshua Cross-X Fighter joining us on YouTube Live. Always a treat to have you here with us. Thank you so much, Joshua, for being here. Jose is joining us from Puerto Rico. We love it, Jose. Thank you so much for joining us on LinkedIn Live. I'm also seeing Bernie joining us from Orlando. LinkedIn Live, amazing. How are you doing, Bernie? And how's the weather in Orlando? And, I know, Greg, we were just talking about this, a couple weeks ago. It's toasty where you are. Is it warm right now?
Yeah, it is. And also, apologies, Bernie. I think I called you Brian. My bad. Bernie. Yeah, it is. Actually today it hasn't been too bad, but we've been having some really big heat waves. I'm in Portland, Oregon. So it's been like consistently over 100. I made the risk today of wearing a long sleeve shirt on this show. This may be a failure if I start sweating too much. I took the risk. I thought I wanted to wear this shirt, but maybe that was a mistake. So we'll find out. But yeah, it's not too bad today, but I think it's hot again here really soon.
Well, I know we are juggling. I think we're in the high 80s today, and next week it's supposed to be in the high 90s. So not looking forward to it. Man, it's getting hot. Well, let's start with the market. Speaking of things that are hot, the market is certainly hot today. The Dow closed up 535 points. We're happy to hear that. The NASDAQ is up 360 points, closed here just probably an hour and a half ago. And the S&P 500 also up 87 points. Now, you might be saying, what's going on with the financial markets? And, some days you wonder if a robot's controlling the financial markets, right? But that's Greg's area. He would know that. But no. What's happening today is some good news. In fact, I don't know. You might think it's good news, or you might think that's interesting. I'll let you decide on what you think about that. But obviously, the market's done very well. NASDAQ surged more than 2% today because of this report. There was an inflation report that came out today that said that, inflation didn't inflate as much as it did last month. And therefore, the stock market did very, very well today. Investors thought this is a positive. They said, okay, great. So there was inflation, but it wasn't as high as we thought it would be, and therefore investors saw that as positive news, and perhaps that inflation is starting to cool down. Perhaps those interest rates are starting to trickle in, and maybe, just maybe, better days ahead. So the consumer price index for July rose 8.5%. And to give you an idea of why that's important is because they were expecting, many economists, this was actually shared from the Dow Jones today, were expecting an increase of about 8.7%. So 8.5% year over year, definitely seen as a positive over 8.7%. So core inflation, this is where you strip out things that, many of us spend money on, such as food prices and energy prices. Also saw a smaller than expected increase in that area. And so the Fed definitely is looking at the report here of like the rise of inflation. They're looking at obviously corporate earnings and whole bunch of other bits of economic data ahead of next month, because next month, as you know, the Fed's going to be doing another meeting, and we're going to see whether or not the Fed is going to be increasing interest rates at the same sort of magnitude that they have in the last few rises in rates. So we'll see. But one thing that I thought was really interesting I want to share with you is what I call eggflation. Okay, now I see many of you joining from all different parts of the country, and some of you also from outside of the United States. I know Vicky usually joins us from the UK. So here's the thing: how many eggs do you eat? If you eat eggs, you want to pay attention to this data, because the prices of eggs has increased by 47%. That's right. So not only eggs have increased in value, but frozen pizza has increased in prices, bacon has increased prices, and I know many of you, maybe Greg included, because it's been so hot, right? You're probably also buying ice cream. Well, ice cream costs like went sky high in July. And believe it or not, gas has gone cheaper, but groceries are certainly continue to rise. In fact, they're rising at sort of the highest rate since 1979. Now, some of you weren't even alive in 1979. But yeah, so cereal, baked goods, more than 15% increase, vegetables up over 9%. So yeah, if you're buying groceries, which I'm guessing is almost all of you, you're probably seeing those costs just get even higher. I don't know, Greg, have you noticed? I'm sure you've noticed some of these costs. Do you eat eggs?
I do. I mean, I guess not necessarily enough that I've noticed that, but I've certainly noticed everything else going up. I mean, everything's so expensive. I do a lot of, I try to get out during the summer and go camping quite a bit, so I buy a lot of food for that reason, and that I make up there while I'm camping, and it is way more expensive this year than it was last year to actually just take a trip out and have enough, to eat over a couple of days. It's
Wow.
very noticeable. Like everything is more expensive.
Everything's more expensive. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I guess you notice it when you do camping. I'm
Yeah,
curious to
definitely.
see. Yeah, I think we see a lot of comments coming in. We see Bernie saying it's hot in Orlando. I hear you. And Classic Fire, thank you so much for here. Sadiq is joining us from YouTube Live. Sadiq, great to have you. No ice cream, so no ice cream for you. Why no ice cream? I'm curious. Greg, we've been on this like shaved ice thing recently, and I'm gonna tell you, it's life changing. Highly recommend, like, if you can, making your own shaved ice. It's pretty
Nice.
awesome when it's like super hot. But there are three other bits of information I do want to share with you. Now, this is actually some of the news that is trending on LinkedIn News. So if you haven't been on LinkedIn recently, you definitely should check this out. They do a great job of updating on daily trending news, and this was shared by Harriet Sinclair, editor at LinkedIn News. And this I thought was really interesting. Have you heard of unlimited time off benefits? So now 1 in 10 companies are actually offering unlimited time off benefits for employees of companies. Now, you may think this is like sort of the best case scenario, right? Unlimited vacation, unlimited time away from work. Like, you could just like unlimited, like it almost sounds like a buffet. Like you could literally just have unlimited of joy. But actually, I've been reading more about this, and I actually will tell you, I have sort of a different take on this. Now, as a financial professional that's worked with clients for years, when they transition from one company to another, maybe like changing jobs, it could be like retiring, it could be a whole other reasons. But a lot of times, and I would say the majority of times, when they leave a company, if they haven't been able to use all their vacation, they usually get a pretty nice, sometimes a pretty substantial check from that unused vacation. But if you have unlimited, right? What if, like, how are you going to quantify that? You probably won't get a check because you just didn't use your unlimited. The other thing is, in most companies, you have to get approval to take vacation. So what if your manager never approves you? Or what if someone like takes 7 days off and someone takes 75 days off? Like that wouldn't be really fair, right? Like, and then when people evaluate your job performance and whatnot, I just feel like, I don't know, Greg. I mean, what are your things? When I read this at first, I thought it was a great thing.
Yeah. So I actually have experience with that,
Oh,
with the unlimited vacation. So I worked at a company that that's the policy that they had for it. The problem that I found was, unless there's somebody to do your job, there is basically you end up not doing any vacation, is what it worked out for me. So I took like 2 days over 2 years.
oh,
Um, and I just ended up not having any. There were certain people that, used it a little more liberally, but it really depends on the job that you're doing on whether or not you can do it. And so that's why I think that is an important point that you made. You can accrue days, and those are payable days if you have like a set amount of vacation. But if you leave and you don't have those, there's just nothing. So it's just like, okay, well, you didn't take any vacation, but there's nothing accrued there that you can be paid out as compensation for not taking vacation. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, on how that could work out. I suppose for some people, it might be a really good benefit if you are able to somehow work it out to take a lot of time off. But I think there's a benefit to having it being a set amount. I think it should be a high amount. I
mm-hmm.
think you should not be, I think, 5 days is not enough for somebody to just be allotted
Totally.
for vacation for a year, but it should be enough to where it's worthwhile to take time off, but also, a little bit of a reward if you don't take time off, that you still, get some kind of benefit out of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, Greg, you took 2 days off in 2 years. I feel
Yeah.
like you deserve, a sizable amount of check because you put in those many hours where you could have had time off to do something else. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think it needs to be, like you said, maybe you could have a little bit bigger number, but it doesn't have to be unlimited. The other
Yeah.
thing is, I think as employees, especially brand new employees, your company, right? Like unlimited seems so daunting of like, well, if I do take off, will my manager pass me up for another promotion or a raise, right? Will this be considered as part of my evaluation as an employee? And then what about like, people who need time off for maybe health reasons or caregiving reasons or whatever, it could be any reason, right?
Right.
It's like, it just feels like, I feel like some structure in this realm would be helpful. But yeah, I'm curious to see. I see Sadiq joining us on YouTube Live, and of course, Vicky. Great to have you here with us from Facebook Live. Really curious about how you think of this question of like, is unlimited vacation a good thing in your minds? And maybe we're missing something on this. All right, so I'm going to segue over because I got two more bits of news that's shared on LinkedIn News. They thought it was really, really interesting, and this is something I know, Greg, you and I have been talking about for some time. And this was also shared by Harriet Sinclair at LinkedIn News. And this is talking about Elon. Elon Musk now has sold about $7 billion worth of Tesla stock in the last couple days. And as you know, there was that big drama happening with Twitter, and now Twitter is full force suing Elon over his decision to step away from buying Twitter. And so Elon, the richest man on earth, is selling more shares so that maybe perhaps he can avoid an emergency sale. That's what they're saying of Tesla stock, just in case he's forced to buy Twitter. I didn't know you could be forced to buy a company, Greg. This is like news to me. This,
I mean, I'm not, very well versed in these big contracts either, but he did sign, the contract saying he was going to buy it. I thought there was an out, that you could pay $1 billion and get out of it, but I could be wrong on that. And if Twitter's suing him, maybe they're saying like, no, that doesn't even count either. Like you have to buy it. Because I was looking up, when is their trial? Okay, trial's on October 17th. That's when this trial starts. So yeah, that was pretty interesting to see what that means with him doing that, and how's that going to affect the rest of the stock, and whether what he thinks his chances are of actually winning this. And then if he does lose and he's forced to buy it, like what kind of product are we going to get after that? That's kind of how I look at it too, is just as the user. I mean, they're going to fight out their billions of dollars and however that works out, their contract. But at the end of the day, we're the ones using Twitter. What's going to happen here? Do we have an owner who doesn't want it and is really ticked
he's
off?
really angry.
Yeah,
Angry
really
owner.
angry. He just turns it off, or who knows? It's going to be kind of wild here over the next couple of months.
It will be, and then, I know we talked about this on a previous show, but he was trying to move, I guess, the court case later on, and then the judge said, no, 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 you got to resolve this sooner rather than later. And it's interesting because Elon had actually sold some stock. If you remember, in May, he actually sold. I think he sold about 8.5 billion then, and he had said that no further Tesla sales would take place after he. I think he said after today. That was his quote. And of course, obviously, now you're seeing this unravel. It'll be really interesting. You're right. I mean, how do you feel about that? I feel like I don't know something that you and I and many of us here use on a day to day basis. We use Twitter all the time. We want someone to be really excited about building the next phase of Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Sadiq is saying, yeah, no edit button. Sadiq is also saying he will buy or he will be sued. And Vicky is saying, wow, that Twitter drama with Elon never goes away. You know, I
Yeah.
hear you, but
I think
it
that's
makes
I
it
think that's
interesting.
drama with Elon anytime, like anywhere.
Yeah, it could be this or something else, right, Greg? I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like you've talked a lot about this in the tech world too. He's never boring.
Yeah. No, he's not boring. It's sometimes frustrating, sometimes brilliant, but yeah, definitely not boring. Elon Musk
Yeah.
is not a boring guy.
It's what we call very interesting. He's a very interesting guy.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. Well, this last bit of news I want to share with you that I thought was really interesting, and this came from Melissa Cantor, also editor at LinkedIn News, talking about how a lot of student debt holders are might be receiving an upcoming loan forgiveness. In fact, we're expecting to hear this in, like, it could be a matter of days, it could be a matter of weeks, but we're actually thinking we're going to hear news relatively soon here in the United States of those who have student loans, like there's like students out there who have like four or five different student loans, and the loan amounts just continue to get bigger, and especially since interest rates have gotten higher, those loan amounts have gotten more expensive. Well, they're saying that we might actually get some answer in the coming days here of whether or not a forgiveness will occur. But what's interesting about this article too is they're saying, well, what does that mean? That means one thing for people who already have student loans, but how do we sort of resolve this so that the future generations, like my kids and then like the younger generation, that they still want to continue to go to college, still go out there for that 4 year degree, if it's going to cost this much and they're going to be in debt for years and years and years, like doesn't really solve the problem. It's just sort of putting a band-aid. And they're saying credit scores of like over 30 million student borrowers here actually increased when during the pandemic the student loan payment freezes were occurring. People actually saw these kids and young people or next generation. It could be you guys think older student loan borrowers as well. Obviously, saw their credit scores increase. So it's like this big sort of financial burden that we have a band-aid on, because here there could be reprieve soon. But how are we going to solve this problem in the future? And actually, since we see Vicky joining us from the UK, we'd love to get Vicky your perspective on how education costs are in the UK versus here in the United States. And for those of you who are tuning in, like, how do you feel about that? Number one, do you feel like the government should do away with some of the student loans? I really think that you know, universities and colleges, I wouldn't mind seeing their proper records of like what they're spending money on. Because there's certain universities, I'm gonna go on tour with some of my kids soon on touring different colleges. Some of these are starting looking like the Taj Mahal. I mean, they were really impressive looking buildings. Greg, have you thought about this?
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it from the way that it works here in the U.S., and I know we do have people watching from overseas. I would be curious to hear their opinion on it. But I mean, some places, college is paid for, and it's not something that you have to accrue all that debt for, or work really hard and all those extra hours to try to pay and get through, because it is very, very expensive here in the United States. That's just how it is. So yeah, how they're going to resolve that going forward? You mean there's got to be a balance in there somewhere, right? I know it's a very contentious issue too, because there's some other people who paid their way through and they're like, well, I had to work and pay for that, and I'm not getting anything, back out of that. So how does this all work out? How's this even out for everybody? It's a really complicated issue, but I do feel like there needs to be one solid plan that somebody needs to put forward for like you said, for future generations. So that what the playing field is, and you're not completely beset with all this debt the second you got out of college, to where it's just so overwhelming. It's like, what's the point?
What's the
What,
point?
it's just, okay, I'm just going to live and never buy anything, never get a house, all that stuff. So I can
Mhm.
totally understand that kind of pressure too.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, Greg. And I think you make a really good point. I'm really glad that you put this out there. Is like, I know, like, I went to a state school, right? So I had to make that choice of going to state and not going to like a private university because of cost wise. It just didn't make sense for my family. We didn't have a lot of money to spare, so it didn't make sense for us. But I think, like, there's a lot of people out there that still feel that way. Number one, they still feel like they feel empathy for the fact that the student debt is so high, but they also, I've been talking to a lot of people saying that, well, you know what, we had to make those decisions too. I had to forego that, Ivy League education because it was too expensive. So I made a financial decision there. So why should my tax dollars go to paying someone else's student loans? So I don't really know that there's a straight answer depending on who you talk to, right? And
Yeah.
obviously, I'm sure if you have tons of student debt, you probably feel very strongly that you would love the entire amount to be waived, or you might feel strongly that this was the education you selected and you have a responsibility to pay it off. I think it's like it's not a really easy question, but it's something we need to deal with because I mean I can totally see 10 years from now this is going to repeat itself and we're going to have to look at paying down student debt once again.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. Yeah. It's something that needs to be looked at a high level, and we got to figure out how that's all going to work.
Hmm.
But I don't have the answer,
We don't
unfortunately.
have the answer, no.
But it's definitely a question we should all be thinking about.
Yeah, curious to
Yeah.
see what you all think about it too. So I see Vicky is saying government should help more student loans and more help to take care of that money and whatnot. Sadiq would love to see what you see. Bernie, everybody, thank you so much for your comments coming in. But yeah, that's what I have, Greg. I would love to hear it though. I want to hear what you have to share about. I think you said Samsung, right?
Yep, Samsung. So today was Samsung's big Galaxy Unpacked event. They have a few Galaxy Unpacked events during the year, but this one was specific for some new products. And that is always fun for me just to see what people come up with. It started very early for Pacific time. So I was up quite early this morning getting ready for that thing. But we got to see largely what we were expecting, but still some pretty cool stuff. So I want to kind of walk through it. I'll tell you about each one of the products. There's 4 different ones that were the main ones that they brought up. And I want to see, what your opinions are, whether you like this, whether you don't like this. But largely, we're going to start off with the big stuff first, and that is foldable phones. And by that, I mean foldable screens. So this is something that really Samsung's kind of been at the forefront of the whole foldable movement, for good or bad. Even at the beginning, when they first came out with their Galaxy Fold phone, there were a lot of issues that happened with it. I remember a lot of the test ones that came out. I had a friend who was testing one and the screen would pop off. This is several years ago, but not a stellar start to the foldable phone scene. That they've worked out a lot of those issues now. So we've got 2 different foldable phones, the 4th iteration of each that we saw today. So let's start off with the Galaxy Z Flip. So Galaxy Z is what they call the fold line. Galaxy Z Flip. So there's the latest one right there. So this is more like, what you think of as a traditional flip phone. If you're old enough to have had a flip phone, this is kind of like that style where you flip it closed, flip it back open, only the entire inside screen is one piece. So for the Galaxy Z Flip, I'm kind of seeing both of them right here. So that's the fold. So that's the other one that we're going to be talking about too. So the Flip itself is one that's been interesting to see how they're going to come up with different iterations for it. So the Flip one actually folds closed like that, and then you have a little screen on the outside of it. So some of the changes, not a lot aesthetically. The fold itself is a little bit, the hinge is a little bit better, but this is a way that they're looking at people to start trying to use these phones. Now, one thing they're advertising is something called Flex, and this is where it allows you to use the phones in different ways and actually have them folded, but they're making software specifically for fold phones. So previously, a lot of it was they're taking regular software, regular apps that you use, and they've just been kind of adapting them into the fold. Now they're actually using the idea of having multiple screens and designing it just for that. So these are things you wouldn't be able to do with a normal phone. So like examples there, having your own kind of keyboard, turning it into a mini little laptop, finding different functionality for your phone and different ways that you can use it. And that's kind of what they've been talking about. So there's some more looking at the flip right there, some of the new colors, which Winnie, I knew you would want to see what the new colors were. That's the new lineup that they have there. And yeah, so one thing that they want to really make clear too with the flip is the little outside screen. So when you have it closed, they wanted to make that more useful than it has been before. So you can do quick answers, quick replies. You can use it for your smart things, whatever you have going on there. Sometimes you can use it as a digital key that way, and you don't have to open up the phone to really utilize that. So they're making that a little bit more functional so you can keep it nice and folded and small. And they think people are going to like that. But then when you open it up, you get the regular phone. So I want to know, if who thoughts and opinions. Sadiq asked, what's the cost? Very good question. Starts at $1,000. So the price is still pretty high, for one of these. And you're not getting all the features that you're going to get on a regular $1,000 phone. So if you're getting the new iPhone, new Samsung, or at least, the basic premier phone that each one offers, you'll get a lot more functionality with those than you will with the flip phone. So that's something to keep in mind. You're not going to get all those bells and whistles, but you will get some things that are specific for flip phones. And, the design is definitely something that's unique. So talking about the flip, and then we'll get into the fold. What do you think of the flip phone, Winnie? Is this something that you would ever want to use? Maybe not even if it wasn't Samsung, but something like this design.
I love this. I mean, I think this is I think this is wonderful. I think it's going to really give Apple a run for their money, because it'll give, this is a definite level up here. I love the fact that you can, that one image where you're seeing like the presentation taking place and then taking notes right below. I mean, talk about a really smart way of utilizing more screen space, like being really, that's a really smart way to utilize this. I can almost see this as almost like a tablet replacement, right? Because you're getting more screen space. You then get to carry something that fits in your pocket a lot more. I guess, Greg, my question to you would be this is, oftentimes like my iPhone that I have is already a few years old, but still looks really, really new. Is this going to start to look pretty dated in a couple of years because of the folding, and that I think that would probably impact. I mean, but we won't know, right, until
yeah, and that's 100% right. Seeing Sadiq's comment, Motorola had one of these. Motorola is working on, they still have one that's a foldable. There's a couple other companies that are doing it too, foldable phones. But yeah, that's the big question. How long is that crease? How many times can you open it and close it? They have set amounts, and I don't know specifically for the fourth iteration how many times it is, but they've improved it quite a bit. However, there still is, you can still sometimes see a little bit of a crease in there. So eventually that is going to wear out. So yeah, are you going to have as much lifespan as you would out of, say, a Galaxy S22 or an iPhone, 13, 14? Probably my guess is not. And is it going to seem a little bit dated after that time? Probably. And that's why, to me, the foldable phones are still, they're much better. I think what we just saw today is much more moving them into an actual functional, something unique, but still does all the phone stuff. It's getting better, incrementally better. But I don't feel like we're quite there yet to where this is a complete replacement. I still feel it's a little bit more of a novelty than it is something, at least in my opinion, that's going to be used every day. But we're getting closer, and they definitely got closer with these ones. But yeah, I think you have to really want the foldable phone. Rather, do you need the foldable phones yet?
But that's concerning, Greg, right? I mean, that's really concerning because you are definitely the tech guru that we all trust, and you're feeling this way. So the average user, will it deliver enough cell phone sales for Samsung? I guess that would be my question, because I think a lot of people would say, I think it's a really, really cool thing. But like, I think you said it absolutely right. Until we see this as being something that will have longevity, and I do love the idea, like you said, it kind of gives us a sneak peek of what's to come in the future. If in fact something like this could replace the tablet, into a phone, imagine like, I think a lot of people would actually pay a higher price tag if it could replace both items with one.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you can get some more things in that. And that's why I think showing some of the software and the applications that they've come up with, does give it more value. It shows, it's saying these are things you can't do with a regular phone. You can only do it with the foldable phone. There's things designed just for that, some different functionality and different ways to use it. I think that's going to be a huge driver too. So if they start creating some more apps for that, and they did showcase some of that, then I think that's going to be that could certainly be a big driver to start getting one of these. Something else that they had, so that was the Z Flip, Galaxy Z Flip. Sorry, it's a lot of things in there, a lot of names in there. Now we go to the Galaxy Z Fold. So the Fold is the big one. This was kind of the first one that they came out with, and this is the 4th iteration, where this is, you have a fully functional phone on the outside, and then in the back, you've got your cameras, and then you open it up like a book, and you have 2 entire more screens to play with, to utilize. It's a lot more area to work with than you have with the Flip. And they've really tried to show that same thing, like I was saying, showing more functionality, more applications, more use cases for having that much screen. You're going to get a lot more, I think, out of the Fold if that's really what you're into. I think that's the one on the left. The Fold is the one that's showing a lot more promise for that. I don't know if you'll get rid of your tablet, but it is, you have a mini tablet right there. Which, okay, yeah, some gaming functions. If you like gaming on it, you can do a lot more with this thing. That one I kind of like, where you can split up your comments, your videos. You can imagine using it for artwork, for a few different things that you can think about using that there. But that's the new Fold. So the new Fold 4, let's take a look at what some of the specs are. They did increase the cameras a little bit better on this one. So you're going to see a better camera. You've got an upgrade on that. You've got an upgrade. It's all compatible with the S Pen too, so you can use the pen. I think they just showed some of that in there. It's got an IPX8 for water resistance, so it's really, you can spill water on this thing, you're going to be okay. So that's an important part of it. But the price again is something that I think is going to be the issue. If you want to get into one of these, you're looking at about $1,799, about $1,800.
$1,799.
Yeah.
For a phone.
You can get a real nice laptop for that much or less. And so you've got to like really want it. There's different options. If you want to trade in one of your other ones, you can get it for less. But that's around where we're starting. And it depends on the memory too. You can change that around, some different configurations. But this is a high priced item. So it's not something that a casual person, I feel like, is just going to go get.
Okay, Greg. Okay. Vicky is shocked by the price. I think Sadiq is having car GPS. Vicky's saying it looks like a mini table, has a nice bright screen. Absolutely. Sadiq also said the IPX8 is waterproof, and Vicky says, "Wow, that I will take holiday for that one." Yeah. This is a really cool one, but I'm with you there. 1,700. This is becoming luxury phone. I think probably for those who will. The question is really that we all want to know, Greg, is, are you getting one of these yourself?
I've played around with them. I think they're a lot of fun. I can definitely see some use cases for it. I don't see enough for myself, at that price range. If I were to say like, all right, I want to get something new, I don't see enough value for me personally at that price range, but I do like where they're going with it. I can definitely see in the future getting one of these and having a lot of fun, just, trying out some of these different ways that you can utilize it, and having so much different functionality within one device, one thing. The durability factor, I love the fact that they've really worked on this hard over the last few years for the durability. So you're not seeing those issues that I brought up in the first Fold. This is the 4th time they've gone around on this. The IPX, just to bring that back, so the IPX8 rating, I was just double checking what exact the IPX ratings get kind of confusing. So IPX means it can be submerged deeper than 1 meter in water for a long time. So this thing's waterproof. I think actually in one of the videos they show somebody dunking it into a glass of water. So I've lost a couple of phones due to drops in water. So there's a lot of mud puddles in Portland during the winter, and if you drop one in there, it's not always good. So I like that part.
Yeah, and then Sadiq asked about the battery, Greg. What do you think? I mean, I think something so powerful. I saw it said terabyte. Something so powerful. Like, how long does the battery last?
Yeah, so you can get up to a terabyte of data. The battery itself was increased. I don't have it right in front of me exactly how long it lasts, because it kind of depends on your use case. But they did increase it a little bit. on there. I can see if I can pull that information as far as how long will the battery last. Apologies, didn't have that one right in front of me. But it's not going to be, again, I think, as good as what you're going to get with an S22, which is the latest version of the regular Galaxy phone.
Mm.
You're not going to get quite the same battery usage, because on the other part is, you've got 3 screens that you're powering, or depending on how you look at it, one big one and one on the front. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be powered in those that you're using up some battery power. They do have, let's see, looking at the colors, you've got a gray, green, beige, a phantom black, and then there's a burgundy option that you can get as well exclusively from Samsung. So you got some different colors there. But yeah, that's the Fold that's the premier one. I mean, this is the best foldable phone that you can get right now. There's just not as much. There's other companies working on them, but I feel like Samsung's got the best one if you want to get into the foldable side of things. Apple's not there yet. They haven't done it yet. Vicky just brought that up right now. Apple has not so far done it. And there's always the rumors, when's Apple going to come out with a foldable phone? When are they going to do it? When are we going to see one? Not so far. And I kind of don't, by the predictions that I've seen, I don't think we're going to see one this year. We'll know more in September when Apple has their event.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're still another year out for Apple, which is sometimes typical, because Apple will wait till the market works out what people like, what people don't like, and then they'll just kind of make a really good device and be like, oh yeah, see, here we go, we just came up with this for you, after everybody else has kind of tested the waters for a while. Yeah, no iPhone yet. Saw somebody ask about storage space. You can get up to a terabyte of storage space, so 256 gigs starting up to a terabyte. I'm not sure what the price is on a terabyte, so it's going to be a lot more than $1,800.
So Joshua, you're gonna play. I want to ask you. I want to cross X Fighter. So would you play your Nintendo games in on this device, right? Because he's asking about storage space. When we know Cross X Fighter loves his gaming. And Sadiq is saying Galaxy Z Fold 4 comes with 4400 and
4400 milliamp battery. That's pretty good for this Fold 4. So again, though, you're powering a lot of stuff on there, so it just kind of depends, I think, a lot on what you're using it for, on how long it's going to last. But 4400 milliamp, not bad.
You're probably traveling with a block. You're probably charging with a rechargeable block with you when you're traveling around with this thing. This thing's got to take a lot of juice. I
mean, I'm so used to doing that anyway, just because I'm a nerd, so I always have my battery pack with me. It's got to charge things up. You never know. So that wouldn't change a whole lot for me. But yeah, definitely longer battery life, always good. Always a good thing to have. So, all right. So there's our phones. Those are our foldable phones that we got to see today. Let's go on to the other 2 products, and we'll just kind of touch on these and just let people know about them. So there's the Galaxy Watch 5 and the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro. So these are the two new watches for Samsung, competing with the Apple Watch, competing with Pixel, competing with, all the other smartwatches that are out there. The design is, well, you're kind of seeing it right there. You can change it up as far as several different things, as far as, the backdrop and coloring and all of that. The functionality, though, that's what I kind of feel like. Well, I guess I'll ask you, Winnie, really quick, though, about the design. How do you feel about the look of that?
I think it looks nice. I personally, since I use my Apple Watch, I don't really think my Apple Watch is the best looking watch by a stretch of imagination.
Yeah.
But I like the functionality with like fitness. I just think it's very easy to use. But this watch looks really nice. I love the roundness. I think it has a lot of surface area, right?
Yep.
And I really like the band. Earlier they showed how the band closed. I think that's pretty cool. It's a chic looking watch. It probably isn't something for me, unless I were to go completely Samsung. I don't know, Greg. I mean, this wouldn't really function with an iPhone, right? I don't know yet if I'm like,
the cross functionality there. I mean, it's not going to be good as good as an Apple Watch for sure. With an iPhone, I'm sure you can use it, but Apple's got those things designed to work perfectly in sync. So yeah, this would probably, and the same thing with this, you're probably going to get a lot more functionality with a Galaxy with a Samsung phone than you will even with another Android phone. But it does work if you are in the Android world, this will certainly work fine with every Android phone. Not to say it won't work with Apple, but if that's what you want to do, I would say dig into that a little bit deeper if people want to read on that. The things that I was looking at here for this, We just talked about battery life. So battery life on this, they're saying with the Galaxy Watch 5, the standard, you can get up to 40 hours of runtime.
Oh, wow. That's great.
So yeah, that's pretty great. 40 hours of runtime. And the Apple Watch 5 Pro has 80 hours. They're claiming 80 hours of battery life that you would get on that. So that's pretty cool. I like that you're getting that much battery life out of it. Now that's not using all of the things. They said it's 20 hours if you have continuous GPS on the Pro. So, if you're using GPS, you're using up, it's going to go faster. But if just using it as a standard watch and the regular features, pretty good battery life.
Are you getting one of these, Greg?
Yeah, this would probably be the one I would go for. I'm not a big watch wearer. I mean, it's just never been something that I've tried. I've tried to be a watch guy, and it just hasn't. I don't know. It hasn't really worked for me. This one, I like the look of this because it looks like a regular watch, but it's nice looking. I like this one. I love the functionality of the Apple Watch, but I like the look of this one. There's some things that they've added in that I enjoy too. It's got a lot of the same stuff that they had in the previous versions and that pretty much every smartwatch has now, and that's the functionality as far as giving you sensors and data about your activities, your sleep activity. They call it the bioactive sensor is what they have on it. So it can measure heart rate, heart signal, body composition, track your workouts, all of that stuff. So the fitness side, pretty good. It's pretty great.
Looks great. So Vicky is saying it's a big watch. It's a big watch. It really is, Vicky. You're right. And then Vicky's also saying, get one, Greg. And then Sadiq is asking, will there be an LTE version? I'm a big fan of LTE smartwatches, just so you know, Sadiq, too. So what do you think, Greg? I'm guessing there must be an LTE version, right?
Yep, there is. There's a GPS, LTE. There's no LTE version that you can buy into as well. So yes, you'll have all of those options there, depending on, what carrier you go through, how all that works. But yeah, they have those options. They've got, you can see kind of some of the different colors there, but naturally you can change some of that as well. You've got, let's see, a couple of other things of note. Again, this just happened today, so I'm like, I don't have it all memorized yet, so I'm taking a look here. They've got a 5 ATM water depth, which means you can go up to like 50 meters down. So you can go swimming, you can go diving, you can rain, snow, mud. Nothing's going to really affect this. You can go snorkeling or wear it in the shower. So don't worry about water. You're fine on that. One other thing that they are bringing in that they didn't really explain a whole lot about and where they're going to go with this is a temperature sensor on it. So it'll be able to detect your body's temperature and let you know where you're at. You can kind of speculate where that could go, but we didn't get a whole lot of info on what they're going to do with that. So I think that's going to be more that's going to be coming out. There's probably certain things they can't say they're working on, but it does get to have that ability. So I'll be curious to see what they do with that temperature sensor. Way in the future, you could see that helping to monitor, are you sick? Or is there something going on that you should worry about? There's a lot you could kind of extrapolate from that, being able to just constantly be able to know what your body's temperature is. But so far they haven't said exactly what they're going to do with that. But that's anything that's new, anything like that. I always like hearing about that stuff and knowing about it. I'd be interested to see what people think about that. But yeah, right now that's something else that's going to be added on there. So that's something else you're going to get. One other thing too, they said that the charging speed. So I talked about how long the battery life is, but the charging speed, they said it can go from 0 to 45% in about 30 minutes. So you can charge it up pretty quick.
Very nice. I do think these smartphones do charge, smartwatches do charge up really, really quick. What's interesting, Greg? I just noticed that you didn't talk a lot about cameras so far. We haven't heard too much from you on that so far.
Oh yeah, going back to the camera on the phones. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the camera on the phones. So they had some improvement on that. The Galaxy Z Fold 4 now has a 50 megapixel main camera.
Oh, wow.
And a 3-time telephoto camera and a 3-time optical zoom that comes on the Galaxy Fold 4. So that's the one that folds like a book. So, decent camera on there, not as necessarily as good as you're going to get on a regular high-end smartphone, or even some of the ones that are even less expensive than the high-end. Some of even the mid-tiers, you might have some better cameras on there. Mm-hmm. It's not bad. It's certainly, it's a pretty good camera system. but it's not the best, and you're paying $1,800 for it. So
You're
kind
buying
of
it for the
like to have the
screen,
best.
right, Greg? You're
Yeah, you're
buying
buying it for the screen. Yeah,
it.
yeah. If you want the best camera you can get, it's not going to be that one.
Hmm.
But that's yeah, that's kind of where we're at on those. So going from the phones, we have the watches. There's the final thing. It is the Galaxy Buds Pro 2. So these are the new earbuds that we're getting from Samsung. Kind of a sleek looking design. Again, the thing, and this is something I would love to hear from people because everybody's very particular about their earbuds as far as how they look and how they fit. So, if you don't like this look, you're probably not even going to even give them a try. But so let us know what you think. Maybe you prefer, the golf tee look. I don't know. Yeah, some people do. These ones are about 15% smaller. They're nice. I'll say this I use the Galaxy Buds Plus myself.
Hmm.
I've been very happy with the sound with them, with the active noise cancellation being really good. These naturally are better than that. So you've got all the features that you're going to get really with all the other um, top end earbuds that you can get. And the thing is the price. So they're not cheap if you want the top end ones. These are $229 to start with. So they're spendy. They're spendy earbuds, but if somebody really wants some really quality earbuds, then this is I think the Galaxy ones are certainly ones to look at. I've been very happy with mine, and mine are not even this level.
Wow.
What
Samsung's really pushing the envelope on price, huh, Greg?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess technically, that's probably around the same. I can't remember now what the latest AirPods cost, but it's if you want the highest end stuff, it's gonna cost you. It's gonna cost you more money, but you're naturally gonna get a lot more functionality out of it. And they have other ones besides the Pro that you can look at. So there's some of the other ones right there. You see Buds Live and Buds 2. So you can go down on that. But yeah, these are going to be spendy headphones. If you're a real audiophile though, and you really want the best sound, the best sounding microphone, the best active noise cancellation, the best of everything,
Hmm.
this is probably the one. But what do you think about the look of these for you? How do you feel about them?
I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, they don't look like golf tees, like the AirPod ones. So I think they look better, and I like the fact that you can pick different colors. I think that's a plus.
Yeah.
And I absolutely like if you say the sound sounds better. I'm sure people are always looking up the quality of sound that they have, especially when they travel. And let's
Mhm.
be honest, if you're gonna raise the prices on electronics, this is sort of the year to do it. Everything else is going up in price, so for companies who are looking to sort of ride that wave, this is the year to sort of push that envelope. But I'm really interested to see Vicky, Sadiq, Joshua, how do you all feel about these? Is this something that you would add to your shopping cart? I don't
Yeah.
know. For me, probably because I already have earbuds and they're perfectly fine, right? I'm not traveling as much as I was prior, and still I still think that they work just fine. And I think right now it's smart to sort of keep some more money in the wallet. For me, it's probably a really cool thing, but probably not something I'd be willing to open up my wallet for right now, Greg. So curious to see how you feel about that, because I think
Mhm.
there's enough people that feel that way. This could be a soft year for some of these tech companies.
Well, I think it depends on the type of person that you are. Like if you're
Mhm.
a real audiophile and you want the best sound quality, and that's something that's really important to you, so that's a dollar figure that you factor in,
Mhm.
this is definitely something to look at. That's something you want to go to. I like my music to sound good, but I'm going to be honest, I listen to a lot of spoken word things, a lot of podcasts, a lot of audiobooks. Usually when I'm running around with my earbuds in, I listen to Bluetooth speakers when I'm listening to music. It's usually kind of out in the open. So for me personally, I'm not going to get as much value out of that just because of what my listening habits are. So it's not something that I necessarily need. I like the idea. I love the idea of good sound, but when I do the value, I'm good with where the mid-level that I have, the mid-level ones that I have, they work fine for me. But if you're really into the best sound, and it also depends on your use cases. Maybe it's just you're listening to really good music, or maybe you travel a lot, you're in a noisy city, maybe you're in New York, you're walking along the street, you want to block out all that extra noise, you need the really good active noise cancellation. This is going to be better. I missed whatever the comment was, but if you have any questions, please let me know. But let's see. Actually, I had one Samsung earphone. It has fallen into water. It did not work. That sucks. Yeah, that's not good. I actually lost one on an airplane. Side note, and I won't go on this too long, but in case you didn't know, if you're sitting on a window seat on an airplane and you bounce an earbud off of the side, there is a tiny tube that is at the base of your seat. And it's an open tube that goes underneath the entire seat. And if you hit it just right, you can get an earbud to land right into that tube and you'll never see it again.
Oh
So
no.
that happened to me on a flight. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And I ended up staying on board because I wanted to get it back. And the flight attendant, she was like, no, that's not possible. Let's just go back there. We'll figure this out. And she took apart the whole seat. And she's like, I had no idea that could happen. I'm like, she was like, we could get maintenance to try to take it apart. I'm like, no. So just a side note, you can lose one that way. Don't let it bounce off the side. Anyway.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I had to buy a replacement for that. But just again, it depends on what you're looking at. I can see what the waterproofing is on those. That's too bad that one didn't work afterward. That would be frustrating if it just fell in a little bit of water. But yeah, these are the newest ones from them, and I think a lot of it's going to be: are you already an Apple person? Are you really going to switch from your AirPods, your Pro AirPods to this? Probably not. But if you're in the Android world, this is really one of the top end ones. That you can get. There's other ones out there too. There's other top end ones, but this would probably be certainly one to look at, certainly one to consider. So those were the big announcements coming out from Samsung today. That's a lot I know that I just covered. So there's a lot more detail and minutia that you can get into if you really want to find out some more specifics on each one of these. So I definitely encourage everybody to kind of look that up, and I'll be retweeting some stuff out to just some links for you if you really want to find out some more about it. But yeah, it's exciting because we got to see some new products. Whether it's something that everybody's going to pick up, remains to be seen. But I love it when companies push the envelope, even with tech. And that's why with these foldable phones, Samsung's just going for it. Whether it's popular enough yet, whether it's taking off, whether everybody's buying them, they're very expensive. But they're saying that this is the future and that people are going to be liking it. And the more they make them, the more iterations, the price will go down and the more functionality you'll get. And I think, this is just another stepping stone toward all of that. Still no Apple one, but we are going to be getting something coming up. So I want to tease this. September is usually when we get the new iPhones. We don't have a date yet. They usually wait until kind of the last, I don't know, maybe a week or so out to let you know when their announcement's going to be. But we've got a lot of cool stuff coming out here soon. We're getting into new product season. So we have Samsung with this. You've got Google's going to be having some new stuff come out. I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon has some things. You've got Apple. So get ready for some fun stuff to check out and maybe some fun stuff to buy if that's what you're into. All coming up here over the next several months.
Very cool, Greg.
It's
fun times, right? We can't wait to hear what you have to say about this. But remember, it wasn't that long ago when they just sort of unveiled the first iPad, and people were so excited about this. So this could be Samsung's moment, like right here. So
could be. Cool. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Apple will go down this road too. It's just when they're going to do that, we don't know yet. But it's foldable phones are not going to go away. I think if anything, that's what this says. It's not going away. We're just going to see it more and more. And I think once we see more use cases, I think it's going to get pretty cool. I will eventually have one.
Well, if you're gonna have one, many of us on this show today will probably have one too. So very, very cool. Greg, super excited. And thank you so much for sharing all that information. Looking forward. I feel like I was at the Samsung event. So thank you so much for bringing us into this universe. And thank you so much, all of you, for submitting your comments and contributing today. You made the show so much more fun. We love to get your feedback and, of course, the things that resonate with you and those things that don't resonate with you. And it's always fun to learn about new things coming in the pipeline with you today. So thank you so much, Greg. And yeah, next month, a lot to look forward to. On my side, the Fed head, and on your side, we're definitely looking for more tech. So that should be super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks everybody for joining us, being part of the show. Just really appreciate everybody kind of sticking around and commenting and letting us know and sharing the show with other people. Always fantastic. It's just always a fun time being here, and we appreciate all of you. And I think that's about it for today. So we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye.